my name is V. Lam, and this video is basically my final project for Women's Studies. So what we were supposed to do was pick basically a medium to express our understanding of the overall course. And so what I decided to do was focus on feminism and gender equality. The medium I chose to use to express my understanding of the topic is basically a video, because I felt like it was creative enough and not too boring, because I'm not that creative to like do a sculpture, photography, music video, or any of that, and I felt like a 10-page paper was kind of boring. So for my video, I decided to interview 5 people. I chose 5 people because if I chose more, the video would have been like way too long, like a movie length long, you know, and that's crazy long, so yeah. The point that I was trying to get across is that not a lot of people know about the topic of feminism and gender equality, and I feel like at least everyone should, if not be a feminist, you know, at least know about it, what it is, and why it's important. And that's why I made this video, just to, you know, gather people's thoughts and opinions on the subject matter, and that's what I did. Honestly, the people that I interviewed, they had a lot of great responses, and I'm happy that I used an interviewing method to, you know, to gather this data, because I feel like I got my point across, kind of, sort of. I'm happy with this interview video project because I was able to gain something from it. The fact that people of different culture and background were able to have some sort of knowledge on the topic of feminism and gender equality. And I don't know, that's just good to me in my opinion. Well, I hope you'll enjoy this video. And here it is.
Feminism is the movement for women to become more equal standings with their male counterparts in the social and economic world.
It's a movement for women to gain equality.
Feminism is the basic principle that women and men should be treated equally and have equal rights. It's not about women hating men. It's not about men being less than women. It's just that there should be equality between the two, not one over the other.
I guess feminism to me means that it's a movement by women mostly, but not just exclusively women, that is trying to gain equality in many areas, and I would say it probably started in the 60s.
Feminism is the basically the belief that all people are equal, and it's the active work to make sure that women are treated equally as men are.
I believe feminism is a good thing, like considering that women are kind of like being treated unfairly in like things such as promotions or openings for jobs. But I do feel that like some take it a bit too far, and they trying to like get privileges set out for just women, and you know, more female power now.
Necessary because it enables women like myself to pursue a career of my own choice, and it helped me succeed in life.
I think that everybody should be a feminist, and I personally don't understand how somebody wouldn't be for gender equality, but that's probably because I believe in it so strongly. But I think feminism would do the world a whole lot of good, and it kind of makes me sad that some people are still ashamed to identify as feminist because that word has such a stigma behind it. An example would be in Time's most recent poll of words to ban for 2015, feminist was on the list. And the critique was behind how the media is using feminism and how the media treats female celebrities who come out as feminists terribly. So instead of Time addressing the context in which feminist celebrities are targeted and victimized, Time was just like, we should get rid of feminism, the word feminist. So I think it's very much needed.
I am an advocate of equal rights for equal pay, but I also have this traditional side to me that makes me kind of not want us to lose some of the privileges that we have. Like I like having the door open for me, and I wouldn't want to lose something like that. And so I'm not 100% sure how I.
I would consider myself a feminist, or even maybe more so even a womanist, which is actually specific to women of color. And because there's within feminism, there's issues of race and gender. In the past, there's been issues where white women have gotten preference over women of color. So there's that thing called womanism that is that. But generally speaking, to keep it easy, I call myself a feminist.
Gender equality is where both men and women have equal chances with equal standings with nothing different or handicapped.
Equality between both of the sex, so women and men.
Gender equality is the idea that there should be equal rights, equal protection between all genders, not just cisgender individuals, but transgender individuals, and the spectrum, because I'm obviously leaving out a lot of variation. But basically, an individual shouldn't be discriminated against based on how they identify, how they gender identify.
I guess gender equality would be the same thing as feminism, except including males, because males just get discriminated against as well in certain areas. Probably the best example I can think of would be in custody cases. At least in the past, when I was growing up, men were discriminated against greatly, and women were seen to be the better parent. I think that's changed somewhat, but there's a lot of room still for growth and equity there.
As far as I understand, gender equality is a little bit more, it's basically more of an offshoot of feminism, as far as I understand. That it's not just binary men and women, but it's also understanding that there are trans people in between that are that also need that equality. So it's a broader term, I suppose.
Feminism is like a movement to get women on equal standings with men, since women have been kind of treated unfairly in the past and a little bit in the present. And well, that's also considered gender equality.
It's equality for both men and women, and feminism is trying to gain equality for women themselves. So
Gender equality is kind of a cornerstone to feminism, because feminism is the basic idea that men and women should be treated equally and have equal rights and opportunities. Feminism is kind of the approach that focuses on women, but obviously gender equality benefits both male and female, and people who identify like in between that, the two ends of the spectrum, because it's not just women who are suffering from sexism, it's men too. Men are told you can't express emotion, you have to be tough, and so gender equality would kind of open up the doors so that whether you identify as male or female, you can be whoever you want to be without those like cultural expectations. I think that's kind of a broader interpretation of it.
Again, I would say that feminism is more geared towards women's equality, but gender equality, if people all were on board with it, it could be one unified movement. But I guess just because feminine and feminism, the derivative we associate it more with just being related to females. So I think that term is kind of thought to be about males, even though some males participated in the movement.
Ideally speaking, in a perfect world, feminism is actively trying to make sure that all genders, or both men and women, and then anybody trans or any sort of non-denominated gender, is treated equally and fairly. So that's how they should be related. Now, how it actually is in practical sense is a different story.
In some cases, yes, like if a male is applying for a certain type of job, like the people that are doing the employment may consider him more fit due to just being a man than a woman. But in some instances, no, otherwise it's pretty fair.
yeah, I do.
I certainly think that men have more privilege than women in a lot of, I would say in most social contexts. However, going back to the last question, they still suffer from sexism. But yeah, they definitely have a privilege, unfortunately.
Yes, I do, without a doubt. In many cases, I have to say, I've thought in my life that I wish I had come back to my next life as a man. Especially trying to be a mom and juggling everything, juggling work and juggling taking care of a family. And you see that there are just some things that people expect you to be able to do really easily because you're a woman and you should be able to handle everything. So I think that they're people that.
I would definitely say that there's definitely a societal preference for men, and that both historically and just the way our society is structured, there is just a preference towards men. When you use the phrase like treat it better, sometimes people get kind of funny about it, but I would say yes. Only in the sense that that's sort of just how we know the world, and we don't like to change things that we understand. If we understand it this way, then that's how we should keep it. That's how people work. And so the actions of like feminism and gender equality that are trying to change the status quo so that everyone is fair tends to get negative reactions sometimes.
Yes, I believe there's so. An example is like when a family of two, a man and a woman, have a kid, usually the mom is expected to just stay home and take care of it. And then after that, like she also has to like drop out of the career or stop working in order to like help the child grow in their childhood, teenage years, etc.
Yeah, I feel there are double standards because depending on which work field, so for example, a construction worker, men would get chosen over women because of their strength.
Of course there are. I think one of the best examples is the sexual double standard. So a man is considered a champion when he loses his virginity. It's something that's almost expected of him. And regardless if he has multiple partners, you know, his integrity, his value is not tied to his sexual identity or his sexual actions. So in that sense, women, there's a double standard for women because if a woman loses her virginity, she loses a part of herself. She is deflowered. Something is taken from her. And then she is not seen as whole anymore or innocent or valuable. It's because a woman's value is it's directly tied to you know, her sexual actions. So that's one of the biggest double standards. Another double standard I feel is the subject of nudity. Because a woman's body is hypersexualized. Not saying that a man's body can't be hypersexualized, but especially I think in our culture, American culture, a woman's body is hypersexualized because she can't show her torso, whereas a man can. So even though we have mammary glands to feed our children, it's the same basic anatomy. A man has a breast too, so why shouldn't we be able to show ours? That's how I feel. So it's kind of a big double standard.
Definitely. Again, you know, I think that we want to associate the fact that women can do anything, but yet they want to limit the things that they can do because of the childbearing role. So yes, very much double standards. And also, I guess when you think about a man can do something, but a woman who does that same thing is considered, you know, often called a man name. For example, in the classroom, you know, if a man is a good disciplinarian, he's a strong teacher, but if a woman is, she gets called the B word and everything else because she's a woman and she's, you know, assertive. So yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, the easy example is, you know, the fact that women are traditionally speaking paid less. And when we point to that statistic that I think women are paid 77 cents on every dollar or something like that, the counter argument is then, well, that's because women are doing different jobs or teaching instead of being an engineer. Even the fact that we value engineers over teachers, or that we value sports players that are traditionally male over teachers, is a sign that we don't respect women in a broad sense as we do men, if that makes sense. And it's not, at this point, I don't feel like, I'm not like anti-male or anything like that. It's not like down with all men. It's just we need to respect the fact that some of these, what are called softer jobs, right, where we're nurturers, need to be respected just as much as, you know, football players or engineers or anything that's more technical or manly.
I believe gender equality has like significantly improved in the past, and it has gotten to a stage where in like the present circumstances there's not that many differences between the men and the women other than the current issues that are a big thing right now.
Overall, I guess you can say it did progress. now you can see women accomplishing their own goals. In the past, they couldn't really do so because they weren't allowed to have their career choices, but now you can, so yeah.
Okay. Well, I think gender equality is at different positions, or it has different levels of progress depending on where you are in the world. Even in the same country, you see places that are more gender, or they have more gender equity than other places. We consider the U.S. as a very refined, industrial, civilized nation that's really advanced, but on the gender equality front, no, we're not, because people are still discriminated against for based on how they identify their gender, and women still make 80 cents to a man's dollar, so women are still less valued than men, and we still have politicians who are still trying to control how a woman chooses to deal with her body and her reproductive capabilities. So gender equality has made a lot of progress in certain areas, but in a lot of other areas, no, not at all. And in some areas, it's just kind of an in-between sort of thing, but it's definitely an issue that people are very heated over. And it's going to take some time to change, because you have to change the culture that gender inequality has existed in for so long, and changing the whole culture overnight is impossible.
I've seen a lot of growth over my lifetime. I've seen things change dramatically, like I never thought things would. Especially, I think men now can take maternity leave, which is a great thing for them. Again, in custody situations, men are stepping up in their roles more, becoming more equal parents and more equal in the housing division of assignments and housework. But there's a long way to go, especially with women, and I'm not sure if anything will ever really 100% change, just because women have that responsibility of physically bearing a child. So that does make them, absent from work more, or something that's not, it's beyond their control. So I'm not sure if things will ever be better than they are. But they have changed.
I think gender equality is better than what it used to be. I think it's just something that we're in the process of doing. It's going to take a while before we get to a perfect world. But I think we're making a lot of really good strides, and I think having these kind of conversations helps motivate us to